Hey guys, and welcome to week 56 and 57 on my dev vlog for or video log for Finding Home, the zombie game I'm creating, and open world or survival game I'm creating. Um, so I mentioned last time that I was going to be using the survival easy survival RPG as the new base for the game, as I was having problems with the survival game kit, as I'm not a super pro with Unreal. I know a bit, but I wasn't good enough to get the exact feel I was looking for out of the template. And again, a lot of the people were hoping to see kind of better movement animations, and I wanted to get melee in, and the easy survival RPG already has melee, already has swimming, and just a lot of less things that I had to add to it, um, compared to the survival game kit where I had to add all that stuff. And one of the big things that people were complaining about was the locomotion. So I was having a hard time adding the locomotion to the game, and so I wanted to switch to the easy survival RPG because I figured it'd be able to migrate everything in better. So this is kind of what you're looking at here. This was the main menu area that I had changed up just to look a little different. Just because I got to start on what the actual game will kind of look like. Uh, and But for the main game, I've been focusing on the actual locomotion and the character and how the character moves and feels. Um, at the same time, like I had mentioned, I am doing the Twitch on Sundays and Tuesday nights in between 9 and 11 Atlantic Standard Time, and or 8 and 10 Eastern Time, depending on where you are. Eastern Standard Time, depending on where you are. Yeah. So I'll just hit a play here. So I've already showed this off in the Twitch stream, but just because if people don't watch Twitch, they might want to kind of see what it is. I got like the storm effects and stuff. I got a showcase. This is what the character's gonna be. I'm gonna change some of the menu, obviously, when I import Finding Home into this. I haven't imported it in yet, as I said, because I'm still working on the actual animations and stuff like that. If I were to hit start here, it's gonna bring us into the overview map that they have. Which I can show you a better view actually by clicking on the map. So the overview map pretty much is when you get the template, it just shows you all the stuff that the template can do. And I'm hoping to take this big, bright, and kind of shiny map and turn it into a tutorial area. And while I do that, like changing this into like a shooting range, I get to test out and make sure everything is fluid at the same time. So what I've been working on right now in the actual game is the character. While I've been doing the YouTube and streaming, I have a completely different game running where I've been testing that. So if you've been watching the Twitch streams, you'd see that I created this level here. Now this level, obviously you can see it's way more filled and stuff like that. That's because I just kind of threw in a map that was already that I had purchased. Now I make the maps and stuff from scratch using the resources. I don't like to just use the map as is, because that's like asset flipping, as some people say, and it's pretty frowned upon. But for the YouTube video and the Twitch, I'm not going to spend time hand plopping every one of these walls in. So I just showed how like you could whip something up as an example. So I threw it together pretty quick. And if you hit play, I wanted to just show how I would be able to get the character working and the hair changing and stuff like that. Um, the other thing that I was working on and showing off in the YouTube and the Twitch for this was changing up that map, like I said, to be more of like a dark, gritty kind of bunker that could be look like more like a tutorial. So I had brought in some assets over here that I could use as a that is an already pre-set up bunker. Now instead of like the main menu, instead of just using this map right away, just kind of put it over top of this map here, I started showing what it's like to kind of place things in, to get a pretty custom feel to it. The coloring is off because I have a sun over here, just so I can see things, because if once I turn it off here, if I take off the visibility, it gets a little dark and it's hard to see where certain things are. But if I hit play, you could see compared to when I loaded in the very first version of the game, in the Finding Home version, that it's a lot more darker. Yet shadows and I got to change some of them. They got the doors going, and obviously I would continue on from here. But even just to get everything set up, I got the lights set up and stuff like that. It takes sometimes a long time. But that's just the start. Like I said, I'll get more like a realistic kind of firing range here, and I will use the stuff to kind of build it out. And that way it's more like a cool kind of tutorial thing, where if people want to know what kind of items and what each item does, I'll have it kind of showcased. Alright, that's it for the YouTube stuff. I'm not going to save any changes here. For Finding Home, I did want to go over what I was working on. So, anybody who's kind of stuck around with me from the beginning will kind of remember this map. This map is the advanced locomotion map. So if I hit play here, you can see that I have the character, a lot more realistic walk now compared to the last game. More realistic kind of jump. The red lines is a hit test because I was testing stuff. I'll go over that in a second. And a few double tap, run, roll, crouch. So one of the things I was working on here is just testing the mantling to go over walls and maybe through windows, as well as climb mantling. So like hopping up on ledges, doing short hops up or big jumps up, and I should be able to kind of like fall and catch as well. And so I could show you kind of how I was doing that. So when I imported the advanced locomotion system, the mantling wasn't working, and I was trying to look into why that was the case. So I just started off just like the rolling I had done in both versions, where just at first I just have it as a clickable button. Like, so this is just triggered on the left alt for now. Normally vaulting will still be a part of the jumping mechanic, so when you jump, I'm going to trace there whether the object you're trying to jump is small or big. But just to prove test here, I did just a simple button press. And from there, I'm getting the character's location minus kind of like half of his height. And I'm shooting out a line trace. A line trace just shoots out kind of like, normally it's an invisible, for I have the debug on, like as you can see in there, but normally it's like an invisible line to see if there's something in front of the character. Um, and how it does that is it adds its forward vector, which is just like the forward direction. And if it hits a static world object, return what it was hit. And so the hit result, I'm getting the location of the object that it hits, the normal, so what way the object's facing. If it did hit, so if it did hit, it sets the true. And if it doesn't, I just end there. But in this case, you walk up to a wall, it hits the wall. I got to continue on here. So with the normal and the object location, I'm going to get the distance above, which I set to 200 units above the object. And I'm going to do a line trace down because I want to see if there's anything on top of the objects. And I actually do 2 line traces, so that also gives me the height of the object as well to see how tall it is. Once I hit an object, if it's too tall, so when I go 200 meters up, the line trace is inside the object, it just will fail. Or if it's there's nothing there, it'll just fail as well. It'll just stop. But if there is something, I'm going to climb depending on the height. I set a static kind of multiple height right now, which again is like pretty much the half the character's height. The character's about, I think it's about 180 units, so it's more like just above the knees. Like, and if it is less than that, then it's probably vaultable. So we're not going to climb it. We're just gonna hop over it. But then I doing a little bit bigger of a check, just slightly behind that. Again, line trace is just it's gonna do a look at like location, starting from the object's location plus a little bit. I'm pushing it in farther to see if there's also another object, if I can climb on it. And sometimes you have a thin wall, right? And so if there's nothing on the other side, then I'll be able to hop over. But if it's and that's where I will be setting it, is the object thick? So if it collides with something, and the height difference between the first collision and the second collision is less than a certain amount, then the object could be thick. But if it's greater than that, and it is true, then it isn't going to be thick. It's probably like there's probably no wall there, or again, one of the issues that you could come across is if there's a giant chasm on the other side, like if it's a cliff, or maybe sometimes the object is just too big for the hit check, because I only do in a certain area, but 250 units above it, 300 units below it. So if it's too big, it might not hit, and then we just say, well, we can't do it. And right now, this is just doing it for vaulting. So should climb. I'm only doing if it's false. If it's true, I could do more mantling stuff up here. And then here you can see I was trying to test a lot of different methods of getting the vault animation proper, from using lerps, which is a mathematical way with the timeline to kind of make it smooth, to just trying to use the object normals, moving it over, just moving the character forward, and just playing an animation with just a root animation, so the animation doesn't move. So right now I actually am using a moving animation, So the animation itself is moving the character, and then I'm actually moving the character up. Just the player's width. Because remember, as you've seen when I'm hitting play, I'll go do a vault here. She goes sideways. So I'm adding that above so that the character could actually get over it. If I put it to 20, I won't be able to make it over the wall. And if I do it to 40, it will look really obvious that the character is like not really touching the wall, just like flying over it. But right now, this is the best I kind of got. I know the hands sometimes look like they're not touching the wall, just kind of floating over. Still looking into trying to make that a little bit smoother, but I don't want to get stuck here forever trying to do that. So with that in mind, once I got that working, I also disabled the collision while it's doing the mantling part, and then I re-enable it on the other side. I set its movement to custom while it's doing the mantling, and then I set it back to walking once it gets to the other side. Hello. That's just a test string to see that the code is actually firing. Now, in the actual base character, because this is, as you can see, this parent class is the base character. So a lot of the main functions sometimes you want to put into the base character, and then the main class that you're using just has a lot of stuff like more like the inputs and a lot of like the, as you can see, like the head meshes and all the customization will be on there, where all the like the basic fundamentals are supposed to be in the base character. So that is where the mantling is usually taken care of. Now the advanced locomotion, they use this here, and when I was trying to do to find out why the advanced locomotion mantling system wasn't working, I pretty much moved over my stuff from here that I had proven and brought it into here and checked step by step on where it could be breaking and doing different types of tests. So this is a test. What I'm using right here is this is checking all world static, but I kind of want to just check by channel, all climbable channels, like the advanced locomotion does here. But they're actually using a capsule trace. So when they're tracing, they're actually tracing with the size of the character. And the problem is, it's actually hitting something before it even hits the wall and closing out. So when I do my test strings here and stuff like that, it actually it's failing right at the hop. And so even when I do a line trace by climbable, it actually fails right away. It's hitting the character's hitting itself once. So I went through each and every mesh and capsule, trying to make sure that they're not set to climbable, so that when I'm firing the line trace, that the character's not hitting itself, and it's still somehow hitting itself somewhere. I still haven't found that out. So what I have right now, sadly, when I did it myself, is it's just, so I did it here, checking for if there's an object in front of me. Unfortunately, it's just world static. And then checking the downward motion that he does here. I do my own downward motion. And again, I'm doing world static. And mine's different than his. He's using like a sphere here, where I'm doing multiple line traces, different distances. And then for both, I'm using his as well here. This is just making sure that if the character was standing on the object, that he could actually fit. So some things might have like a roof, or it might be like, oh, there's an opening that the character could get in, but it's actually like a cave or something really small, and he wouldn't actually be able to stand up when he gets to the other side, and so we would just return that he can't climb there in that case. Um, and then I was doing checking the here if it was failing here. The actual advanced locomotion system is actually working here now, so I'm using that. And then I had set up different types of mantling ways to put in my own mantle, again kind of just similar to what I had done with the vaulting, but I was able to get the advanced locomotion mantling to work. So now when I play, as you were seeing before, I could get her mantle and climb, but sadly it's just on static objects. All these objects are static, which isn't always the best. Like, so this here is static, but this block in front of me is not static, so I'd have to just jump on it. This here is static, and you could set what is static and what is not static. So none of this is static here. This is all dynamic, as well as most moving objects. So sometimes if you're trying to do some puzzle game and you have something like this, that would always be dynamic. It's moving. It's not a static object. It's not staying still. So I wouldn't be able to climb or grip on that, which sucks. Which is why I wanted to do chase by a channel. So as you can't climb on that. Which is why I wanted to do chase by a channel. But for some reason, it's hitting the character himself. And that's why I didn't get a video out last week, because I was really trying to buckle down and figure that out. And I spent quite a bit of time doing the math and trying to break out what that could be. But at least I got something working right now. I don't think if I can't figure it out, like, I might just move on, because there's still a lot of other stuff I want to test to make sure it's working. Like getting the advanced locomotion system working with the melee weapons and stuff like that, and getting it working with some rifles, and that will be cool to test and get something going. So this week, that is what I was doing, and I think I'm going to leave it with just being able to climb onto static items for now. Anytime I'm making a level, I'll just know that I have to set it to a static if I want the player to be able to climb on it. If I don't want the player to climb on it, I'll just set it to, like I said, a dynamic object that can move or something. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions, I know this stuff, I don't want to go too deep into a lot of it because it could be really confusing to some people. But if you are interested to know more about how the coding works on stuff, please let me know in the comments below, or on the Discord channel, or again when you see me on Twitch. But yeah, I hope I didn't scare you too much by going over this. Obviously, I wouldn't leave like this when I attach this to the jump. I'd clean this up a bit and probably make it into a function. And that's what you could see these things are, like the get mantle is a function, and you just call it. It makes a lot of the stuff cleaner. Probably have another case I could show you here. Yeah, like when ragdoll. I'm not using the ragdoll right now, but if I was to start the ragdoll, this is what a function would be. And when you double, like, it looks like one node, but when you double click, it breaks into another node, right? And then this is clear objects, which is another function, which looks nice and neat. But I could go into that, and you could see it's just clearing the meshes off of the target. So clear the skeleton mesh, clear the static mesh, clear the anim class. But yeah, I think that's all I have to go over this week. Is it next week? I hope to do. Maybe I'll try to get some melee in there, or maybe some range weapons to go with the advanced locomotion. And then once I get that in, I think it's going to be looking a lot more smoother than what I have in the game right now. And then we'll keep going, and we'll just make it good. And then once I get that going, we'll do different items and stuff. And I'll just, again, it's a project I plan on working with the community, so I'll wait to hear some feedbacks and see what you guys think. Again, thank you guys so much for coming to watch the videos. You guys have a great day. Ciao for now.